I would like to thank National Partner for Student Success for joining us. NPSS supports a nationwide effort that brings together experienced organizations to recruit, screen, train, support, and engage additional caring adults in roles serving as tutors, mentors, student success coaches, and wraparound service coordinators and post-secondary transition coaches. We're extremely excited today to learn more about NPSS and their partnership goals, as well as how they can support IHEs and continue the efforts in supporting our future educators. So I would love to thank them for joining us today. And of course, this webinar is brought to you also by the Pathways Alliance, an initiative that we led what feels like many moons ago, but of course is an uncommon coalition of leading educator organizations that's dedicated to supporting and implementing diverse and inclusive educator teacher prep programs. And this now not only includes teacher residency, but also registered apprenticeship programs as well. So as we continue our initiatives and our efforts, we are happy to collaborate. And I'm happy to now introduce our NPSS folks that came to join us today. I'd like to begin by introducing Mariko KV, which is the Director of Higher Education Partnerships for NPSS, as well as Audrey Bazard, Graduate Research Assistant, as well for NPSS. So thank you both for joining us. It's greatly appreciated. We appreciate your time, and we are elated to hear more about your efforts and how we can support the IHEs together.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Hi, everyone. I'm Mariko, and as Sabrina mentioned, Director of Higher Education Partnerships based at the NPSS Support Hub. And I'll talk a little bit more about the National Partnership for Student Success. But just first, really want to honor and recognize the really wonderful work that all of your institutions are doing. In my efforts with the NPSS to engage the higher education community, among others, in supporting future educators through the pipeline. That work really resonates with me because I'm a product of the types of programs and initiatives that you all run. A lot of my work with the NPSS focuses on federal work study, credit-bearing coursework, AmeriCorps programs, and other ways to engage college students in P through 12 support roles. And when I was an undergraduate myself, I was actually a federal work study student that was placed as a tutor, a mentor, a post-secondary transition coach, and served in a lot of roles that helped prepare me to become an educator in the future. So now I'm really honored to be in a position to help build capacity for other institutions to collaborate in moving this type of work forward at a national scale. I'll also pass it to Audrey, our wonderful graduate research assistant, to introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Audrey Bazard, and I am the graduate research assistant with the NPSS Higher Education Coalition and Partnership. I just want to echo everything that Mariko just shared. I am also a product of putting educators through the pipeline. I was a teacher previously before my work with the NPSS and my graduate research and degree right now. I'm really excited to be here. Some of my work that I'm doing with the NPSS is supporting Mariko and the Higher Education Coalition and their nonprofit partners. You'll see me on more webinars and the events that we hold. And if we want to schedule one-on-one calls, happy to do that as well. And we'll facilitate and brainstorm together.
Thank you so much. So now to just provide a little bit of background information about the NPSS. Some of you already may be aware. I know already some of your institutions might actually be engaged with the National Partnership for Student Success in some way, but we're excited to speak with you today specifically about higher education efforts. And to zoom out, I'll just let you all know that the NPSS was started as a response by the Biden-Harris administration to address a variety of educational needs that arose as a result of the pandemic. And as I'm sure you're all well aware, students were affected, educators were affected, communities and families were deeply affected by everything that occurred in our education system at the time. And specifically, we know that P through 12 students continue to need a lot of support. So the NPSS launched at the White House in 2022, and we are a public-private partnership between the U.S. Department of Education, AmeriCorps, and the Everyone Graduates Center at Johns Hopkins University, which operates the NPSS Support Hub. And that's where we really help everyone involved in the NPSS move into taking action on all of these issues. We are a pretty comprehensive initiative. We focus on supporting P through 12 students in key evidence-based, high-impact support roles. So high-impact tutoring is certainly a priority here, but we also focus on mentoring, success coaching, post-secondary transition coaching, and wraparound and integrated student supports, because we know that students today not only need support recovering academically from the impacts of the pandemic, but also in a multitude of dimensions of their school lives and out-of-school lives. So we focus on a variety of spaces and contexts where youth can access support, with the goal of really bringing together key groups such as colleges and universities, P through 12 schools and districts, nonprofit organizations, and even states or other local agencies to create, deepen, scale, or improve these evidence-based, people-powered supports. So we can go on to the next slide here. And although this is really a very broad, all hands on deck initiative, my focus currently is on engaging colleges, universities, and college students. So the NPSS focuses on increasing the total number of supportive people serving in P through 12 roles. But as I'm sure you're all well aware, college students are such a crucial source of people power to be placed in evidence-based, high-impact positions and are so well positioned to connect with youth both in and out of school. So to help galvanize the higher education community to do this work, the U.S. Department of Education released a Dear Colleague letter, which was a call to action for post-secondary institutions to set a goal to increase the number of college students placed in NPSS-aligned roles through any number of pathways. There's no one right way to do this, but the department has identified federal work-study jobs as one crucial area where college students can be supported in these positions, as well as a more umbrella approach, knowing that colleges have lots of pathways to service, including credit-bearing coursework, such as through schools of education or other community-engaged service learning courses. Also AmeriCorps programs, internships, fieldwork experiences, volunteerism. There are lots of pathways to P through 12 service for college students. So we're excited to uplift all of the variety of opportunities that colleges can offer. We've also noticed that, of course, due to the impacts of the pandemic, the number of college students serving in P through 12 support roles really declined because those opportunities for community-based service were extremely limited over the past several years. So we see this as a really wonderful opportunity to reignite a lot of the programs that may have been operating really successfully pre-pandemic, but faced lots of challenges, as we all have, in sustaining that work for a variety of reasons. And one of the challenges we've seen has been in the relationships forged between higher ed, P through 12 contexts, and nonprofit organizations. We know that so much great community-based work was happening previously between these key groups, but with lots of changes over the last few years, we see this as a great opportunity to help reignite those relationships that may have fizzled during the pandemic or even cultivate new ones. And so the NPSS is really well positioned to bring these key groups together in this work. And some of the ways we do that are through holding webinars, learning communities, and events to help colleges and universities answer this call to action, as well as cultivate collaborations with their local schools, districts, nonprofits, or other community-based organizations. So we can go to the next slide here. And the NPSS Higher Education Coalition is our key national network of colleges and universities answering this call to action. And we actually launched alongside with the Dear Colleague letter when it was released. So the coalition is our national network of institutions that have set a goal to either increase the number of college students in federal work-study jobs, serving as tutors, or in other P through 12 support roles, and or increasing the number of those students in those roles through other programs. And you all know the potential for all the programs that do this really well. We can go on to the next slide. And as you can see here, our coalition is quite varied. We have 50 institutions currently across the country that are of all different sizes, public, private, 2-year, 4-year, and graduate and professional schools. They serve all sorts of diverse student populations in a variety of communities across the country, from rural to urban to suburban, and are really doing a wonderful job of collaborating together to uplift their promising practices and then support implementation. So as I mentioned, the NPSS really encourages this type of networked learning. And so we hold periodic convenings for these institutions virtually. We hold some in-person events and summits. We provide no-cost technical assistance to support implementation and help cultivate relationships locally, as well as across different regions for higher ed institutions, nonprofits, districts, and others that might like to collaborate. And based on the Pathways Coalition membership, I know that actually some of your institutions are already working with the NPSS as Higher Education Coalition members, which we're so excited about, and would love to engage more of you in this work. So how can you get involved? Well, to do so, you can submit a goal on our website, and Audrey has been putting some key links in the chat here. We'll also send these via email afterwards. But if you'd just like to take a look at what this is, the NPSS has a college campus goal setting form, which is essentially setting an aspirational goal, which will hopefully be achievable, to increase the number of your college students that are placed in NPSS-aligned roles, to answer this call to action. And ultimately, we hope to support the future educator profession through all of these positions. And that goal is completely voluntary. It's not shared beyond the NPSS, although we do list all of the coalition members publicly on our website, and do our best to uplift any promising practices that you might want to share with us. Institutions that are answering the call to action are often featured as panelists or speakers at different events. We do spotlights on programs in action to uplift examples of this work to the field. And we also hold working groups that focus on different implementation issues, such as federal work study, and really equipping higher education institutions to build the capacity to really optimize those types of programs with a focus on P through 12 contexts and supporting current college students who wish to become future educators or just really care about service. And we know lots of folks are out there in that community as well. So we can go ahead to the next slide here. And I also just want to mention that our Higher Education Coalition collaborates with another coalition of ours, which we call the Supporting Champion Organizations. So again, really coming back to this core goal of partnership. As the 50 coalition members operate, in their space collaboratively, institution to institution, or even system to system, when we engage state university systems, we also have a nonprofit network of nearly 170 organizations that are answering this call to action from their positioning as community-based organizations. And we know that's incredibly important as well. And so our colleges and universities collaborate with one another. Our nonprofits and districts collaborate with one another, and we collaborate across these groups to really, again, build capacity to effectively place more college students in these roles. And you can see quite a diversity of institutions represented on the slide here. Probably a lot of them you're familiar with, and some of Pathways partners are also partners of the NPSS as supporting champion organizations. So if you have partners that are nonprofits that you would like to engage with the NPSS, we invite them to apply as a supporting champion as well. And this network convenes monthly for resource sharing, collaboration, networking, speakers, speakers, different events, and just learning opportunities that really support answering this call to action, both given the immediate urgency of the work, but also in the long term. So we really encourage you to apply, and I want to shout out Innovate EDU, which is actually a supporting champion and has done an enormous amount of work to support the NPSS, as well as being a core partner in operating the NPSS Support Hub, where we provide all of that no-cost technical assistance and facilitate these types of convenings. So based on what you know of Innovate and Pathways, we also share a belief that this particular organization has been a wonderful partner of the NPSS, and we would love for you all to join, whether you're a college or university or a nonprofit partner. And Audrey, again, is sharing all those links in the chat. So we can go ahead to the next slide here and just wrap up with some overall information about how to take action. So we really encourage you to express interest. So feel free to email us. We can also provide an interest form if you would like to share, that you'd like to learn more or are thinking about joining the NPSS. This is all completely free, so no cost to you. Similar to Innovate and Pathways work, this is a great other type of coalition to join, where we're bringing folks together, uniting people behind a common goal with shared experiences and interests. And we would love to uplift your great work while also, hopefully figuring out some challenges that we can raise to the field and find solutions to. If you're interested and you would like to reach out to us, we will follow up with you about submitting that campus goal setting form. And if you already feel ready, like you have in mind a goal that you might want to work towards, please go right ahead and submit it. We will gladly follow up immediately upon receiving that form to schedule a coalition onboarding session. And that's where we really bring together you along with your colleagues at your institution to talk through your ideas, how you came to a goal, your implementation plan, and what existing programs or resources you can build upon. Again, the NPSS is not necessarily focused on creating something new. We know that lots of institutions have been doing this for a long time, exceptionally well, and may have just faced some implementation challenges during these last few years. And so we are here to support the growth and expansion of your work, and would love to find ways to build upon the great promising practices you already have. And if you're not quite sure where to start, we are also prepared to support you from that lens. Our coalition members are incredibly diverse. They fall all across the spectrum. Some campuses join already having great programs in action. So just as an example, we partner with many institutions that already have really robust schools of education or community engaged learning programs, community engagement centers or civic engagement centers, and federal work study programs. So they might already be in a place to answer this call to action with really minimal support. And we certainly welcome that. We'd love to still have you as a member of the coalition and uplift your work as a leader in this initiative. And all the way to the other end of the spectrum, we have coalition members that don't quite have anything set up. Maybe there's a new person taking on a new role at the institution and the learning curve is steep. We're happy to connect them to colleagues who, through other members of our coalition, who can support their development. We connect folks with our technical assistance providers that offer guidance on how to implement these programs. And many institutions also might start in a place of having really robust, high-impact tutoring programs, for example, but now are thinking about moving into other areas. So we've partnered with institutions that do a lot to support future teachers and want to expand the opportunities for P through 12 service for their college students into other areas. So not only high-impact tutoring, but now maybe developing a mentoring program or a post-secondary transition coaching program. And so many of our coalition members are running existing initiatives while piloting some smaller initiatives to see how that goes over the next year or so. So there are lots of pathways to get involved with the NPSS, and we would love to support you in that process. So I really want to thank everyone again for having us on the call. And I just am excited about the opportunity to partner with Pathways because there's so much alignment already in our work. We really believe in building the future educator pipeline. We know that service is a really, really important aspect of many college students' experiences, not just future educators, but all college students, we see are really motivated to do this work. And hopefully, maybe we can support them in considering education as a potential future profession. So we would love to uplift the ways that you all are doing that to our coalition to help other institutions also think about how they might be able to contribute to building the future educator pipeline. Maybe if they don't necessarily have a school of education or they aren't thinking about this work, the NPSS is offering a great opportunity here for campuses to build well into the future. So we will leave it there. I shared our email addresses if you would like to reach out to Audrey or me. Visit our website. And I just want to take the last moments on the call to address any questions. I really welcome, your thoughts via the Q&A feature or the chat or however you'd like to share. I'd love to know a little bit more about maybe who's in the room, what your thoughts are about the NPSS, or anything you'd like to share with us about how you are doing this work and moving it forward, because we'd love to learn from you all as well. So I will pause there as I know it was a lot of information. Thank you so much, Sabrina. And anything to add?
Yes, thank you so much, Marco. And I think I will kick us off with the first initial question. I would love to hear maybe just a little bit more detail about how programs can navigate using federal work-study dollars to their benefit and support their programs.
That is such a wonderful question. And it's one that many of our coalition members are grappling with. So I assume probably lots of folks in the room are familiar with federal work study, but that's not always the case. I have gotten questions from higher ed institutions and especially nonprofit and district partners on how federal work study can be leveraged for this work. So in case it's a new area for you, essentially campuses agree to participate in the federal work study program as one dimension of student aid that can be offered for college students with expressed financial need. And the campus can allocate those dollars how they wish. And so that's where a lot of this, really opportunity lies, because those jobs can be any variety of things, and campuses are required to allocate at least 7% of their federal work study funds to community service roles. But those don't necessarily focus on P through 12 education either. They could be any form of community service. And in some cases, lots of federal work study jobs might send students to work at the campus gym, for example, or the campus parking structure, which many students take advantage of and have a great experience with. But for the NPSS's goals, we really want to encourage college campuses to leverage those federal work study dollars to the highest possible benefit for their college students. And I'm sure you all can relate to how meaningful these types of P through 12 support roles can be in supporting college students' career development, community engagement, just professional exposure and mentorship. And these positions are really mutually beneficial, of course, not only for college students, but also for the P through 12 youth that they're supporting. And so colleges really have the agency to decide how much of their federal work study funds are going to go towards these types of roles. And so we've encouraged campuses to aim for 15% of their federal work study dollars going towards P through 12 support roles or community service in general. But that's not set in stone. Campuses in our coalition have decided to go a little bit less or a little bit more, depending on their own federal work study circumstances and how those dollars have been used in the past, where they hope to go, and how they hope to engage college students. And again, because our coalition is so diverse, some campuses are very, very small. They might have a very small allocation for federal work study. And so they're aiming to place 15 more students into high impact tutoring positions. On the other end of the spectrum, campuses that are very, very large and have super robust programs such as America Reads or America Counts and have been doing this for a long time might be aiming to place 800 more students in these federal work-study jobs. And so I think one of the great promising aspects of federal work-study, and also one of the challenges, is there's really flexibility for campuses to determine exactly how those funds should be used. And so what we do at the NPSS Support Hub is meet with every single coalition member, oftentimes with their financial aid office, their federal work-study coordinator, alongside other key offices that focus on P through 12 partnership. So that could be a school of education or Department of Education, service learning courses, community engaged centers and whatnot, to really strategize and put the pieces together. Maybe the financial aid office is well aware of how they can secure jobs for federal work-study students and deliver those financial aid funds, but they might not know what the placement options are. And so that's where schools of education or other offices that partner in P through 12 spaces really come in to help collaborate in really leveraging any existing partnerships with districts or nonprofits or creating new ones to help the financial aid folks really funnel those students towards high impact P through 12 support roles that can support their futures as educators or maybe other types of public service positions. So we are equipped to really figure out what makes sense for each campus, and it doesn't have to all be at once. Some campuses are not starting with federal work study. Maybe they're starting with a service learning approach or an AmeriCorps program and hope to build towards federal work study in the future. In other cases, those roles are flipped. And again, campuses really can determine what makes the most sense for them based on their current expertise and capacity. So we've been delighted to see that some campuses have allocated 20% of their federal work study funds to these roles. In other cases, it's less, and that's okay. So there's lots of flexibility here, and we're excited to work with you, hopefully, to figure out how to optimally leverage federal work study on your own campus.
My last question is, and I'll turn it over to any of our participants who have any questions. And this is for Marco or Audrey. I'd also like to hear a little bit about your tutors and like what kind of credentials do they need? Where do your tutors come from? Do they have to be in college to be considered a tutor to be in that pathway?
That is such a great question. So a couple parts here. One, they do not have to be in college to participate in answering the call to action. The NPSS is very broad. So I personally focus heavily on engaging undergraduate students and federal work study students and others in the higher education space. But lots of our partners are focused on other sources of people power. So that can look very different. It can be, families, it can be corporate volunteers, it can be other community members, folks that are in the education space, but maybe not necessarily in the classroom. They might be running out of school time programs or working in other youth development contexts. And all of those supportive adults are welcome to contribute to answering the call to action. So that's, one great way to get involved. And I think across the board, whether it's college students or others, the NPSS really focuses on high quality in these roles, which we know will lead to high impact. And so some of the other resources that the NPSS Support Hub offers include things like voluntary quality standards to help programs understand how to align their work, everything from training to operations, to the work that students are actually doing in classrooms or in after-school programs, to high quality based on the research we know from the field. So while there's no one specific program or pathway towards engaging people in these roles, we do focus on supporting programs to scale and deepen their work with quality. And we partner with 5 different technical assistance organizations nationally that focus specifically on our 5 evidence-based P through 12 support areas. So if you're not quite sure how to do that work yet, we are really excited to support you. And, a great example of this is one of our Higher Education Coalition members partnered with a school district to place more college students, both through federal work study and through their School of Education, in middle school tutoring and mentoring positions. But the district actually was interested in support on building those programs with quality. So we connected them to local, amidst our national technical assistance providers, their local organizations that could support with implementation. And they've been collaborating for months now, have piloted 3 new mentoring programs that focus on different dimensions of social emotional learning, as set out by the goals of their district, and are doing high impact tutoring involving their School of Education future educators. So there are lots of different ways that these collaborations can happen and how quality can be built into the programming. So there's not one specific type of training or qualification that a tutor or mentor needs to have for these roles. Our goal is to make sure we're building capacity to equip programs to be able to carry this on themselves with the expertise of our national partners, as well as their local organizations that they're working with.
Great, thank you. We do have a question in the chat. This comes from Gabriella Schneider. Which non-for-profit is Mark referencing that did the collaboration with the school district on SEL?
Thank you so much, Gabriella. That is Mentor. So Mentor National is our technical assistance provider in the mentoring space, and we connect any organizations that would like that support through the NPSS to Mentor's local organizations as well, based on region. Great question.
Well, thank you so much, Mariko and Audrey. We appreciate your time here. Again, Mariko has shared her and Audrey's email address, and also please feel free to visit the partnership studentsuccess.org, where you'll find more information about higher ed coalitions, and also how to be a NPSS champion. We thank everyone for joining us today. We look forward to connecting and continue to bridge the gap in education with each other. So thank you all for joining. We look forward to hearing from you soon, hopefully to connect later on these topics. Again, the slide deck, as well as any pertinent information from this webinar, will be shared with you via email, as well as the recording. So thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you all pretty soon. Thank you again, Mariko and Audrey.
Thank you very much for having us. It was a delight, and we will be in touch. Hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.